Apologies for that. But welcome back. We just talked about some of the best bets I have as we head into this season. But let's get into a little bit of fall camp intel. There is a million things going on and a big time injury that we need to talk about. So we'll start with that. And it happened over in Austin, Texas, and it happened at the position that they did not need it at. A running back injury has happened again at Texas. We saw C.J. Baxter go down with a bad ACL tear, LCL, PCL injury that he's going to be out for the season with. Christian Clark, a very talented freshman running back, has an Achilles tear. He is out for the year. Another huge hit to this room that they did not need one bit. Now, they do still have three guys that are going to contribute. Frankly, Christian Clark was likely the fourth guy on the depth chart after C.J. Baxter went down. So this isn't, the biggest hit in the world, but it was all hands on deck. There's no doubt about that. And it sounds like Ryan Niblett, the very talented wide receiver that tended to be the odd one out when you talked about the rotation there, might be getting run at running back. So that's one to watch. Juan Davis, the tight end, is another one to watch there. A guy that played running back in high school and is very, very athletic. Another one that might have been a little bit out of the groove when it talks about tight ends getting into the game. So a couple of things to watch there. I think they have a number of very capable guys, but at the end of the day, they were walking a little bit of a tightrope before, and it just got a little bit tighter for Texas in the run game. So definitely one to watch there. Although everything else is going great. It sounds like everything else is lining up the exact way you want it to if you're a Texas fan. The defense is finding a groove. Those two guys right there, Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton especially, are making really good plays pretty much every day. So it makes you feel a little bit better. Obviously, the running back injury is not what you want at all. A lot of people have been talking about what the solution is for that. Just put more on Quinn Ewers' shoulders. He is the third-year starter. He is the guy that came back for a reason to win a national title, and this is the way you do it. You take over and you be the player that your team needs you to be. So that would be my answer, but definitely easier said than done absolutely. So definitely one to watch there. We'll move on over to Missouri, and it sounds like this team is a little shaky. Not necessarily bad by any means, but when you had the year that they just had and you want to do some of the things that they want to do this upcoming year, it sounds like Eli Drinkwitz would like to see just a little bit more. Would like to see a little bit more consistency, a little bit more. There were just some mixed reviews overall from the scrimmage this past weekend. Drew Pine, the backup quarterback, apparently played really well, which is huge news for them. Definitely need someone behind Brady Cook to just make you feel a little bit better as you head into this season. A couple of different things to watch is a couple of position battles. The running back battle is one that has been decided. Nate Noel is likely going to be the running back one over Marcus Carroll. Both very talented guys, likely will be plenty in this upcoming season, but it sounds like it will be Nate Noel out of the blocks first, and then Marcus Bryant, the transfer from SMU, is going to be the left tackle there. So a couple of position battles that were kind of lingering a little bit over there in Columbia, Missouri that have now been decided. Over to Penn State, Khalil Dinkins is the guy I want to talk to you about, a very, very talented player. In fact, this tight end room overall looks really, really good. Andrew Rappleyea, I'm doing my best there, and Tyler Warren are obviously very good players. Dinkins is going to be the backup behind Tyler Warren, and it sounds like tight end is exactly what you want it to be for Penn State. Now, the problem is, that doesn't matter too much. Now, it does help, don't get me wrong, but if you don't have the wide receivers, you're not going to be able to make the plays, plain and simple. And they feel good about Trey Wallace, or Harrison Wallace as I've called him. I'll call him Trey Wallace from now on, but Liam Clifford is playing really good football. Julian Fleming is the one that it feels like they don't really know where he fits. It feels like they don't really know where they want him to be. They have him at the same position of Harrison Wallace, and they think Harrison Wallace is better. So definitely something to watch as we get closer to the season. They brought in Julian Fleming to be their wide receiver one. There's a reality where he doesn't even start. Omari Evans is another guy to watch there. I think Julian Fleming will likely start, but as of right now, it doesn't look like they have a set position for him to be in right now. Michigan is one to watch. The confidence coming out of Ann Arbor is just very obvious. They feel very confident in what Alex Orji can do this upcoming year. They think he's making big-time strides. The O-line and D-line look great. Obviously, the O-line is the bigger news of that one, so that'll definitely be one to watch. Jayshon Barham is the guy I want to talk to you about, though. He is getting comparisons to Devin Bush, and if you're a Michigan fan, that feels pretty good to hear. He's a very, very talented, athletic linebacker, and definitely one that could take their defense to the next level. And frankly, if he hits the way that they're talking about him, no one's going to be able to score. The same way that they weren't able to score before on Michigan, it'll be much like that. And then on the back end, Ricky Johnson is someone that out of UNLV that is making a ton of really good plays. Wesley Walker out of Tennessee is another guy to watch back there. But at the very least, they'll be rotating in. They could easily be starters when that first week comes around. So a couple of big-time transfers that they brought in on the back end to make up for Rod Moore and Keon Saab. Rod Moore going down with an injury, Keon Saab moving on to Alabama, and they did a really, really good job, it seems. Moving over to USC, Lincoln Riley said the defense really stood out in the first scrimmage, which tends to happen with pretty much every team, but at the end of the day, USC was a little bit further behind than a lot of different teams, so it has to make you feel a little bit better about that defense. And freshman Braylon Conley, the guy on your screen right there, has really caught some eyes. He's been someone that has been really all over the field, played a lot of really good football at that corner position, and frankly, I think that's what could really change the season for USC. If they can go out on an island and say, that's a corner we feel really confident, even if he is a freshman who is going to have some struggle points, but if you feel confident 80% of the time, 90% of the time that he can do his job and keep that guy in front of him, you're going to feel really good about what you can do on defense. So overall, USC doesn't need a lot of players to come along. They need a couple. And at the end of the day, if it's a corner that's a freshman, then so be it. That's just the way it's going to be. Overall, if you're looking for a worry area, O-line would be that area. They are not as deep as they want to be. They are not where they want to be. So if they run into injuries, definitely one to watch. I did want to talk about the two teams that we're going to see in 10 days, so we'll get to Georgia Tech right here. DJ Moore, a defensive back, tore his ACL. He will be out for the year. Obviously, terrible for news for him and for this back end because they have a number of players back there that can play, but this is a guy that was huge for them and definitely someone that they expected to be a huge piece for them. Now, the defense has been playing really well, it seems. It feels like everything is coming along the way that they want to. They added a couple of linebackers from the portal. EJ Lightsey came over from UGA. Taj Butler, I can't exactly remember where he came over from, if I'm being totally honest, but a very talented player, and both of them are playing really, really well right now. I think EJ Lightsey is someone that is going to be huge for this team, honestly, throughout this season. And then finally, you have a backup running back that has come along. Freshman Anthony Carey is a very talented guy, and it sounds like he's going to be a big-time player. Chad Alexander is another one to watch at that position, but it's going to be everyone behind Jamal Haynes, obviously the very talented running back there, but it sounds like they got some guys behind him that can pick up the slack if need be. The team that they're going to play is Florida State, and things seem to be going pretty smoothly over there. DJ had a pretty solid day where he showed some of his arm talent, did some really, really nice things, threw a really nice pass to Tuafili, apparently, for a long touchdown with Fentrell Cypress in coverage, which matters a lot because it's a really good coverage corner. So it sounds like he's doing what he needs to do. It sounds like he's executing the way he needs to, and maybe it won't be, lighting the world on fire, but definitely a player that can make some noise and definitely a player that I think is going to be able to do enough. I don't necessarily think he's going to be able to win a national title for them or win games single-handedly, but he can execute, and that's really all you need him to do because it sounds like a lot of other things are coming into place. One of the things to watch is Cam Davis, a very talented freshman running back. It sounds like he is just about everything you want. He is a terrifying guy when he comes off the bus, definitely a guy that is very intimidating, but he's got speed, he's got shiftiness, he's got everything that you need him to have, so he's going to be dangerous. There's no two ways about that. This running room is absolutely ridiculous overall, so he might have to wait his turn just a little bit, but it sounds like he's going to be a little bit hard to keep off the field. The other guy I want to talk about is Cam Riley, a very talented linebacker that bounced around a little bit in the portal before finding his way down to Tallahassee, and it sounds like he's making every type of play you want him to make. The only real worry I had about this defense was that linebacker position, because it felt like they didn't have a guy at that position that you could feel really confident in. Now it feels like they do. It feels like Cam Riley is going to be that guy going forward and is definitely going to be a huge player for them. So NC State loved to have him for the second that they did. It sounds like Florida State is loving it as they have him now. So definitely a huge pickup there and one that will definitely make some noise. Over at Miami, I want to talk about the freshmen, and frankly, it's likely going to be the case this year and maybe even next year, likely a little bit less next year, which is the goal over at Miami, but these freshmen are just a little bit more talented than some of the veterans they have on the roster. Elijah Lofton's the guy I want to talk about. This is a beast at tight end. He's going to be an absolute monster. He's going to make all types of plays, and my guy Anthony in here told me that he should have been my pick for freshman impact player of the year for them. he was probably right. I won't argue with that. Zaquan Patterson's another guy on that back end that's going to make huge amounts of plays for that defense this upcoming year. And then you have JoJo Trader making plays at wide receiver. So on either side of the ball, there are plenty of freshmen that are making some big time plays there. And then Michelle Powell, a veteran on that defense, someone they brought in from Washington to kind of help stabilize that back end a little bit. Apparently, he had a pick on Saturday in the scrimmage, and he's also becoming a big-time leader. And that's the biggest thing for this team because last year they had two guys that were very veteran. You know, Cameron Kitchens, James Williams, both guys that maybe they didn't play the most beautiful football in the world when they were playing last year, but at the end of the day, they were voices. They were people that you needed on that back end for communication and for a number of different things. You need someone to take that place. And I think Michelle Powell is really kind of the only answer there. So huge news that he's kind of coming along the way that you want him to. He's likely going to play that nickelback kind of position, which I've talked about before, is one of the most important positions in that back end. So definitely one to watch there. A really, really talented player that played really good football at Washington a year ago. Definitely was a huge part of their team getting where they got. And now he's down at Miami. And overall, it sounds like everything's rolling really smoothly for the Hurricanes right now. It sounds like they're rolling into Gainesville in week 1 and feel really confident. Mark Fletcher, I know, was down with a little bit of an injury, but sounds like he's back and he will be more than healthy for week 1, so not a worry there. Overall, fall camp is still crazy, and it's going to be crazy until this thing kicks off. We will keep you updated probably every day. I know it's a little, it's a lot of information pretty much every day during this segment, but overall, you got to know all of it. As we head into the season, you don't want to get into the field and say, who's that player for Florida State at running back? It's Cam Davis, a very talented freshman. You never want to be caught a little bit confused when that ball is kicked off. So doing my best to keep you updated. Definitely a lot of stuff that I'm sure I missed throughout the country, but overall doing my best to keep you guys as updated as I can. But let's take our last break here, and when we come back, we're going to do a little bit of a headline catch-up. There were a couple of things around Jim Harbaugh in Michigan. There were a couple of things around Deion, as you can imagine. So we'll break down all of the different things you need to know and some very interesting headlines right after this, so stick with us.